How's it going, YouTube? Coach in today with another video, and today, guys, the video is going to be a Banlist prediction, and I do hope that you enjoyed today's video because it's going to be a lot to talk about. If you look at Nationals, 7 out of 8 were Cool Tune. We already know that Cool Tune's an issue, but now you're looking at 7 out of 8 in a top 8 representation of our national event. That is pretty major, and to see a deck be so dominant, this is definitely going to be an issue, especially from Konami's lens, because they just released a slew of new decks and support for old decks. And if you think that they're not going to let other decks shine with this next ban list, I would say that you're in for a huge surprise, because this next ban list I expect to be pretty major in terms of the impact of the game. There's definitely some cards that I'm going to omit from this because I feel like those decks are relatively fine. Just speaking on one right now, I think like Mitsurugi, I don't really think that we'll see a crazy hit to that deck. The deck is just like fine. It's good. It has a high brick rate, and it can get a little bit more consistency with like the roll ad cards, but those cards also can brick. So it's definitely going to be a matter of how many more bricks do you want to shove into a deck with a ton of bricks already, right? So Mitsurugi, I'm probably going to leave it off this ban list prediction, but definitely something to still think about and something that could happen, but I just don't think that it mostly will. So if you haven't already checked out my sponsors over on Gem, Cloud, Arlagames, Imperium, Dragonshield, RW, MainPhaze, or Grimoire, definitely go ahead and do so down below in the description. And then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can hit our goal at 30,000. Now the first one I have for today is going to be Rotary. Now Rotary needs to get banned, and then we can even put Overtake to 3. The rest of the deck can be as is, but if we ban Rotary, the deck is fine. It was doing things in like the regional circuit, but it was doing nothing in the YCS circuit, which is perfectly fine, honestly. I think this is like a great regional deck without Rotary. But the problem is that Rotary gives your opponent access to Trackmaker, where they don't have to use like a Veiler or a Red Nova, you know? Now they get an in-archetypal card that searches, looks at your opponent's hand, and gives you access to Trackmaker, which is another search, right? Like, it just snowballs. So this card is also giving you an additional normal summon. Like, this card is just problematic, right? So ban this card like we banned Roy, because this is just like the only correct answer, and then leave the rest of the deck alone. It was winning regionals without Rotary. Just let it play without it. There's variants with Elf Note too, and I think that those variants are pretty cool, but this is a deck that definitely just needs this hit, and then I think that you just leave it alone. I think that's perfectly fine for the metagame, and we can just like let it be. Now, obviously, there's Secret Village of the Spellcasters, there's Anti-Spell, but Spell Canceller I feel like has been like the most splashable card throughout many formats, and to see at least this card get banned, I'd be very happy. Now, would I want all 3 of those cards banned? Absolutely, but to see Spell Canceller banned, at least, I think that that would do wonders, because this card has been an issue for a very long time. And talking about a card that's been an issue for even longer, Omega. This is a card that has no reason to still be legal. Every time your opponent summons it, it is not for anything healthy, right? Especially if they summon it back with like a Dissipator or something, right? So this is a card that I could definitely see getting banned just because it's toxic in nature, and this is a card that definitely just like warrants a ban. Now, as for limits, I have Branded and High Spirits. I feel like this card is really crazy, being able to get you to Wildbaz, and it's super splashable. Usually when your opponent's really trying to get to Wildbaz, whatever variant they're playing, even if it's like the Ritual of Light and Darkness variant, you're still seeing High Spirits, because this card is a really crazy consistency card. Now, it's either going to be limiting Branded and High Spirits or like semi-limiting Wildbaz, alright? Which is a really crazy thought, because you'd have to play either like 2 Wildbaz or like 1 and 1, which is definitely a very interesting ratio for the game at the moment, because so many people are trying to play these cards because they're so good. And even ashing this is better than ashing a Branded Fusion most times. So like that tells you the power level of this card and where it should probably be on the ban list. Next one up is Meow Mew. Why not? Let's have the 1, right? Like, what is this really going to do? Like, there's going to be some things that happen, but at the end of the day, like a Raigeki, sure. This deck auto folds to Fua. This is like a Yubel situation. Like, you can play the deck, but if you get Fua'd, yo, like that's going to suck. So that's something where I'm like, listen, this deck is like fine. I think that if it came back, not a whole lot would change. Like, sure, maybe there's like some cheese with it, but like at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think I'm too worried about something like Prank Kids. The next limit here is going to be Heavy Storm. They're releasing new Unchained cards. I could only see this being something to further promote those cards being released. And I don't think that this is going to be like the biggest issue outside of like Unchained using it for like cheese, right? Like, it's cool in that deck because you can blow up your own cards, but at the end of the day, it's like fine. Now, time for the eye roll section, because a lot of times people just see cards in here and they're like, all right, just put it to like 1 or 3, right? If you're gonna hit it. And I think that this is a important section for one card in particular, and that's Mally, because that's the only card so far that I've seen in the section where it actually mattered, because Mally at 2 versus Mally at 3 was a big difference. But at the end of the day, I think that there are some consistency hits where you can see cards a little less that can matter, and I think that Super Poly and FNV both fall in this category because these are our two main breakers right now. They are both very, very popular, and I think that they're even better when you're going first. You set up your board, and then you have it set, and then your opponent tries to play into your board, and then you flip it into them, and then all of a sudden they're in a horrible situation, especially with cards like Mixosa being released. That card's crazy. So that's something to really keep in mind too, because like these cards are very strong, and Fallen and Virtuous being so recursive as well, I think having it at 2, even though a lot of people are having it at 2 now, just having it as like a consistency hit to seeing it can be really good for the game. Now, I have a couple unlimits for you. Sekka's Light, I really don't see this card doing anything. Like, yeah, it's an okay card, but you can't really use spells and traps. So like, the card at the end of the day is just for like a Monster Mash deck, and I could see like Mermail playing this, but like, sure, right? Like, the card is pretty good at what it does, but like, we haven't really seen this card since like 3-Axis Dragon, right? So not necessarily like the biggest worry of a card to see. The next one's going to be Unchained Soul of Sharvara. This card is really solid, and again, with the release of more Unchained cards, I could see them just pushing this card to 3 to be able to push that archetype and have it more prominent in the meta, and then try to make more people want to be able to play that deck. And then the last two, what is Purely really doing, right? Just like let it be, unlimit these cards. 1 Towers versus like a Liger. Would you rather deal with a Noir or a Liger, right? Like, and no one's even really going to play Purely, right? Like, it'll just be like a rogue deck that you could play, right? This is the deck that also suffers really hard from getting like Fluid. So this is something that you really got to keep in consideration. It is going to be something with these cards at 3 that like you might see, but you also probably won't, because Impulse is also a really crazy card in the trap card. So it's something else to just keep in mind. But these cards could come back and like nothing would change. It'd be perfectly fine. Did I miss anything? Definitely let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys all in the next video. Thank you.